conversation. We've already kind of got into a little bit of what we're going to be talking about today, which really is all about how speakers, right, who happen to also be authors, in most cases, how they can really monetize these speaking opportunities that they're, maybe already embracing, or that's happening around them, or that they want to pursue, right? I'm excited for this conversation because taking the stage is like, I have to say for myself, whenever I've taken the stage, magic happens, right? Whether it's leads, more people knowing about who I am, and just overall, right, just platform building, right? So many things that go into that. So I'm excited to talk about this with you today, and just to give the readers, not the readers, they are readers, but to give our viewers and watchers and listeners an idea. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into the space of supporting authors this way and speakers.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited for this conversation. I've been in the speaking industry, speaker bureau industry, for over 15 years. I started off working for one of the largest speaker bureaus, American Program Bureau, as an intern in college. And over the course of 10 years, worked my way up to the head of their corporate department and a senior vice president there. And since then, I've gone on to start my own company that's half a speakers bureau and half a speaker management company. And I think for the focus of this conversation, it's going to be revolve around more of the speakers that we manage, and how beyond the speaking engagements that we coordinate for them, how we've been able to grow different revenue streams beyond just speaking.
Right. That's incredible. And, there's a number of authors and, of course, speakers that want to take the stage. That's something that they're interested in. And maybe they've got a few inquiries, they're doing some things on their own. When does it make sense to engage with a bureau, right? From an author standpoint, is it something that someone should be ready just to dive right into? Or are there certain, I'm going to say call them requirements, but just things that need to be in place that are going to better support them with being with the bureau? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, it's not an easy answer. It really depends on the individual themselves and what they're looking to do out of speaking. And just as with the individual, it also has to do with the speaker bureau. There are a few different representation models in the speaking industry, from exclusivity to non-exclusive to having a manager. That's a little bit different. And different bureaus and even the big talent agencies now all have their own internal speaker bureaus. They all operate a little bit differently, offer different benefits and different ways of working with them. So it's really important. I tell everybody that's considering working with a speaker bureau or just being represented as a speaker, that they take stock of what they are looking to do, from the income they're looking to generate to the reach they're looking to have to what other priorities they have in their professional and personal lives that connect to speaking. There are some speakers that don't care about being paid, but they want to get out there to advance their company or their business, or just really passionate about getting a message out. So depending on what those priorities are, it will really chart the course for if the speaker needs representation or if they should get it.
Absolutely. And I know before we started recording, I have a number of prospects that may be good fits for your bureau in particular. But one of the things that you shared is that really how you guys support them is really in managing these engagements and helping them secure them as well. But ideally, the more qualified author or speaker is going to be someone who's already got some inquiries in place, right? They just need really help and support managing them. Tell us who ideally are really great fits for your bureau.
Sure. Yeah, that's correct. So, well, first and foremost, we are very particular with the speakers that we sign from a perspective of they have to be a performer on stage. They have to be a really great speaker. They also have to be a master of their own content. And that means basically being able to apply their content to a bunch of different roles or scenarios or audience types, and it still be able to land with a wide variety of people, professions, roles, what have you. And third, this has to be something that they're passionate about and that they want to do for the next 20, 30 years. We're not looking to partner with a speaker that might have a best-selling book that we can capitalize over the next 12 months or 24 months. We're really looking for long-term partnerships because we invest heavily in our speakers. So with that said, the best speakers for us that we partner with are ones that already have some momentum on the speaking circuit. They're getting inquiries from companies, basically paying customers. And one, they're either looking to increase the number of engagements they're doing, and or two, they're looking to increase their fees. and the volume as well. So what we do is we partner with speakers like this and set a plan to get them to where they want to be and to where it makes sense. And then also make sure that we know what a 10 to 20 to 30 year plan looks like. And then we really take over from there. The marketing, we're full service. We do all the contracting, we coordinate all the travel and logistics, everything like that. But we are true partners. So much so that even with our speakers' marketing expenses, we contribute whatever our average annual commission is. We contribute that percentage amount to their marketing expenses because we look at this as a full partnership.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And really, one of the main things to talk about today is on the back end of having that support or just being on stage, period, just sort of the ways that authors can monetize these speaking opportunities. Like that is such a really huge topic. So outside of just increasing your speaking fees, there's a ton of ways that you can take advantage of being on stage. So what are you finding to be one of the best ways, or you're finding to be a really profitable and smart way to approach opportunities being on stage? And I also consider that to be being on someone else's podcast, potentially as being on a platform, right? Talk a little bit.
A stage can be anything. It could be the speaking stage, but we're on a stage right now. We're reaching more than just you and I. For a very long time, the really only product that a speaker had to sell was their book, or maybe like a PDF or something like that, as we became more technologically advanced. But there's a real opportunity. Every person you get in front of, I hate to look at them as a customer, but is a potential customer. So with the addition of online courses and the different technologies out there, you're able to teach people from a video series or an email series to like a paid subscription blog to online courses. These are all opportunities of something that you can sell an individual that's in your audience. And many times, once you have an impact of that speaker, when you're on stage or on a podcast and they want to learn more, they're looking to purchase something from you, right? So to be able to have something available at the very least, even like an email subscription or something like that is a big benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always seen it as, just a step in the overall journey that someone goes from maybe not knowing who you are to now they've seen you on stage and had an experience, and they're really primed for, the next opportunity to work with you next. And in my head, I've always seen that as, back in the day, you go to the mall food court and, someone's out there with a tray of samples on toothpicks, and you get a taste of it and you're like, all right, now I'm ready. I really want to take the next step, right? Which of course in the food court mall, you're going to go get in line and give them your money. But in this case, whether again on a podcast or in another, in situation where they're on stage or on the media being interviewed, right? These are all opportunities that are going to really lead people down that next path after they've had this experience with you, teaching them and giving them some value in that way. One of my good friends, we actually just interviewed him a couple episodes ago, Cameron Harold. He was sharing how when he goes to do speaking events, let's say he gets booked for a speaking gig, he would then follow up with the coordinator or the event coordinator and basically say, oh, I forgot, if you want, I can offer my books to everyone there at a certain rate, you know what I mean? And then if they came back and said no, then it would say, okay, I'll give it to you for half off. And then if they still said no, you say, hey, you know what? Everyone can just get it for free, kind of a thing. But it was, again, just a really smart way of what I consider stacking that speaking opportunity, right? Not only you're going to come there to speak, but you can also leverage, like you said, books, courses, other products, PDFs, swipe files, templates, what have you, to be, in some cases, maybe a leverage point in you getting on stage or you having something on the backside to be, to provide some return on everything that went into you showing up on that stage.
Yep, absolutely. And courses can also do the reverse, whereas individuals can take your course and be so impacted from it that they remember you. So when they're in a position to hire a speaker or to recommend a speaker, you're recommended by that individual. So it goes both ways too. And same with like him giving out his books. Your friend, what is his name, Cameron?
Yes.
You must be a true believer in the impact that his book can have. And by putting those in everybody's hands, you're turning those into followers or fans or are true believers, right? And so you might have a customer for life that way.
Exactly. Now, speaking to that author that maybe is looking to dive into speaking more, maybe they don't have as many inquiries yet, but they know that it's something that they can see being of advantage to their path, right? Their strategy and how they grow and stay in conversation about their book. What do you recommend that they do or take a look at when it comes to, getting started with a speaking career? Right. I love that you said that at your speaking bureau, you prefer that they're in for the long game, not just for 6 months, a year, right? But let's say that this person is looking to make that commitment to, the long game, right? Where can they get started? Where do you recommend that they start with going down this path?
The last episode of your podcast. No, but the last episode I think was about building a platform, right? And how important that is.
Yes.
What author or publishers want to see many times when they're considering an author. That's the same thing with speaking. You need to have a platform. The platform is your book, is your speaking, is your online courses, is whatever else. Right? I mean, there's so many people doing cool things with like creating their own social media, platforms for their followers. And I mean, it's the world of technology. There's so many cool things different individuals are doing, but it all starts with that platform.
Mm. That's so true. That's so true. And you mentioned in particular before we started recording, and it's up to you if you want to go into it or not. You don't have to disclose any names, but there was a speaker that was charging, let's say, 5,000 per talk, and now it's in the multiple five figures. How does someone go from there to there?
Okay, so the example you're giving is a great one. That's the perfect type of speaker for us. That speaker was someone that was getting a good amount of corporate that was a speaker who had a book that was written for individuals to improve a certain skill. And the first book didn't make the connection to the corporate or professional world as much as it did to like an individual personal side of things. But a lot of corporate executives were picking up the book and saw the value of her content for professionals. It was about communication. And she was getting a good amount of inquiries from companies that wanted to hire her to speak. But the speaker was not closing a lot of them because her materials were positioned for the individual. So the only ones she was really booking were ones where someone were really big fans of theirs or of that speaker and understood how the speaker's work connected to the professional, and they didn't need the resources to buy in or get buy-in from their boss, and so they were booking her. But that's many times you're not talking to the decision maker. So all those other opportunities that speaker wasn't closing because the platform or the positioning or the branding wasn't built out the way that those people needed to see to be able to make a purchasing decision. Even a $5,000 speaking fee is a big purchasing decision, right?
Right.
So we worked with that speaker to make some tweaks to the positioning, more topics that appeal to professionals. So much so that the speaker's book that came out was more focused on the corporate world as well. Long story short, by making those tweaks, and it wasn't just like branding, it was everything, right? A new presentation and building that out. But we were able to go from $5,000 a speech to over $40,000 a speech in the span of 2 years. I mean, there's other things that a new book, a lot of visibility, very successful, but it's not to say that your platform, what it says on your website, isn't just equally as important. And so
Absolutely.
we have the expertise that we bring. I've been doing this for over 15 years. I have a lot of people on our team here that understand this world, and it's basically figuring that intricacy out.
Man, but I love that you bring the attention back to those tweaks that can be made. You talked about platform, you talked about positioning, you talked about the presentation itself, right? And ensuring that you're speaking to that decision maker, right? And making sure that content is aligned with them. Like that's huge. I mean, those are tweaks that, really any author or speaker can make today, just in taking a look at some of those things, right? If and starting there, right, you can really start to, to your point, just start to make whatever tweaks are necessary, maybe to start to get the $5,000 speaking engagements or what have you. But the positioning and the platform is really, really important, right? Especially if you're wanting to level up with the stages that you're speaking on, with the clients that you're attracting, how many people are getting access to your book, all of that always seems to be tied back to your platform, right? And certain publishers and um, bureaus and people who support authors, whether it's a publicist or what have you, they're also looking at your platform too, right? To gauge whether or not, right, that you're qualified. But I love it essentially for wherever an author is, they can still make those tweaks and put some intention and focus around their platform.
Yep, I always tell people when they're looking to make those adjustments to take a step back, look at who's making comments on your books and what they're saying was very beneficial or what they liked, what they honed in on, who are sending you speaking leads currently, what types of event, what types of audience, and you'll start to see a pattern. And as long as that pattern aligns with the speaker's priorities and goals, my decision is always to lean into that, whatever that pattern is, and then build out from there. So, it's, getting a ton of interest from technology companies and leadership teams, like lean into that leadership side and into the technology side of things. And once you increase bookings or fees or whatever your priorities are, then you can build out from there.
Yeah.
But it's that initial traction that you can really leverage to grow.
Absolutely. And I know that you have such an extensive, extensive list of authors that you supported, events that you're connected to, so forth and so on. And you've been in this game for, you said 15 years, right? And helping authors and speakers in this way. What do you see for, in the future for this, right? I know that most of your authors and clients, you want them to be in there for the long game. So when you put on your futuristic glasses, so to speak, and look down the line here, let's call it 5 to 10 years from now, what do you anticipate or see being a change or something that, is coming about that, I don't know, is it good or bad, what you see happening in this space altogether?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think the only time's going to tell. If you would have asked me this question pre-pandemic, I would have said technology, right?
Yeah.
Like, how we look through, what do they call that? Augmented reality. We look through a glass and we can see the speaker and something else on stage, or
Exactly.
a holographic speaker, and all these technologies that we see over the past couple of years. But that concern or having to account for that has gone away because during the pandemic, I think we all realized how important that in-person communication is, either one-on-one or attending an event or actually having the speaker there on stage. So right now, the speaking world's kind of in an interesting place with search and everything. From when I started, there's probably 10 times as many people that call themselves a professional speaker and actually receive money for speaking than there were 15 years ago.
Wow.
That's because people can put up a website and pay for some Google words and get booked, right? Use technology to come up with a good reel, and they might not necessarily be the best speaker. But clients have been burned enough now that people are becoming very savvy and spending more time vetting who they're going to book. And so I think in the future, like the big change is that, like, in order to have like a successful speaking career, you are definitely going to have to be a great performer on stage. So honing those skills, I think, is going to be taught. And that might surprise some people. Isn't everybody that makes $5,000 plus for a speech a great speaker? Well, let me tell you another surprise. Probably only like 30% of people that command the fee actually deserve the fee that they get, right? But they had a best-selling book, or they're a celebrity name, or there's someone that's going to attract a bunch of people to pay a ticket to go to the event. They get booked regardless.
Wow. And are you also supporting your speakers with, being a better speaker on stage and certain skill sets there?
Yes, we always we want our speakers to be the best speakers in the world. So whatever we can do to help them with that, we support them in every way possible.
That's awesome. And I imagine that in the future as well, that as I call it the e-learning industry and other ways that we're consuming information is continuing to grow, does that also translate into more opportunity for speakers, right? I also think about, just when you mentioned pandemic, the surge of virtual events that took off, right? And summits and things of that nature. I'm just curious, like, do you see that with that space growing, with how we're learning and taking information, that this is creating more opportunities to speak?
Oh, absolutely. If I think about it, like there's a time, probably for a period of 5 years or so, when TED was at like the height of their popularity, the TED
Mhm.
Talks, where if you went and spoke at TED, it became a big lead gen for you as a speaker, right? We're starting to see that with these courses now, because a company will purchase 1,000 licenses for their employees, and and then so some executive or somebody on a committee that's hiring a speaker at that company gets exposed to this individual because of their course. One of our speakers, um, his main source of leads were from people that had taken his course.
Mm.
It was pretty eye opening to see.
Wow. And how did that? So from the stage, they spoke, and then it directly just pointed them to
Like
next step.
like people would take the speaker's course online, and then so many people had it taken. So many people taking it that eventually some of those folks had to need to hire a speaker or suggest a speaker.
Ah, I see.
And like
Wow.
these
Okay.
were LinkedIn learning courses, right? So I used to make a joke that LinkedIn Learning is the new TED, because our speakers that had LinkedIn Learning courses actually got, when in the box that said, "Where did you hear about the speaker?" it would say LinkedIn Learning. To
Oh,
the
I see.
Taken so far that one of our speakers on there gets leads because he's the only person that has a course on a particular topic on LinkedIn Learning, and
Hmm.
people are using LinkedIn Learning as a resource to find who they think are going to be good speakers. That's like a qualifying
Wow.
course. Yeah, it's mind blowing, right? But it
That's
really
very
is.
interesting.
Like they were going to LinkedIn Learning and say, okay, who's these instructors on storytelling, let's say, right? And then they're contacting them, say, hey, I saw you have a storytelling course on LinkedIn. Do you speak?
That is really, really good to know. So good to know. I'm glad you gave us that tidbit there too. This has all been a really informative conversation for sure, and I trust that everyone tuning in is also picking up on just what you can really do, right? What speaking elevates for you, as well as the importance of always focusing on your positioning, your platform, because that's never going to change, right? Whether you're speaking for free or you're getting 50 grand to speak, right? Like your platform and how you're positioning yourself is always going to be key. So Josh, I'm so appreciative of just what you shared with me today. I've learned a lot, and I would love for you to share where people can reach out to you. And then if you have any like last parting words of advice to share with the listeners, that would be awesome too.
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is epickeynotes.com, EPICKEYNOTES.com. And there's a ton of information on there, as well as a way to get in contact with me and our team. And parting words, I think it's becoming a successful speaker and a sought after speaker is hard work. But if you put the time and intention and work into it, on that back end, it's very rewarding, not only from the money side of things, but also the true impact that you can have on individuals.
Mm.
Even if you're only speaking to corporate, like inside of corporations, like these people also need to hear from external voices and need to be motivated, need to be inspired, need to be put back on track, need to learn. So it is an awesome opportunity to impact people's lives.
Beautiful, beautiful, Josh. That's awesome. I want to thank you again and acknowledge just all the work you've done in this industry and how you've supported really just information getting out on a bigger scale. Right, it supports the author, it supports those that are really getting quality, quality learning experiences. Like that's what I love most about what you've created, for your clients as well as for the events where that's taking place. And just acknowledge, like you have just I can tell a genuine heart to help people and really wanted to see them succeed. So again, kudos to you and thanks again for being here on the show. I'm going to ask you one last question before you go, and this is a fun question to ask all of our guests, which is, what is your one word? So, given a sticky note with a message to send to the world from Josh, what is that one word that you want the world to know?
Empathy.
Say it again.
Empathy.
Empathy. Wow. Okay. Tell me more a little bit.
I think it's something that we're missing as a society as a whole. It's just that extra layer of feeling or thought or of compassion for somebody or understanding. I mean, empathy can be defined in a few different ways and can be applied in different circumstances. But I think it's a good catch-all for us just to say, like, hey, take a step back before you react and put yourself in someone else's shoes, whether positive or negative. So
100%. I love that. And I feel you on that. That's so key. So yeah, Josh, thanks again. I'm so glad that we got to connect
yeah,
again and to have you on.
thanks for having me.